For Stonewall Jackson, boys!
Forward! March!
After 3 days of fighting, Union General George Meade orders his men to stop firing, fooling the rebel army into thinking the Yankees are beaten. And now, Robert E. Lee sends his men charging into an ambush. General Pickett leads his troops to face an onslaught of cannon fire.
For Lewis Armistead and perhaps 300 Virginians, there is nothing standing between them and the rear of the Federal Army. And if they can pull down the entire tent of the Army of the Potomac, and it is a retreat, and the battle is over, and the war is over, and Confederate independence is just over that rise.
Load double cannon!
But standing in the way of total victory is Lieutenant Alonzo Cushing and Battery A of the 4th U.S. Artillery.
Fire!
Them. One last shot.
Fire! Fire! The hill is ours!
For one fleeting moment after Armistead's charge over the wall, it looks as if the South has won the war.
Pickett's charge was doomed to failure. Pickett's force begins receiving direct fire and is devastated.
Of the nearly 15,000 Confederate soldiers who participate in the charge, nearly half will become casualties.
Pickett's charge is known as the high watermark of the Confederacy, the closest rebel troops would come to winning the war. And it's also thought to be the peak of the Confederacy as a concept. Many argue that once the rebels are driven back down Cemetery Ridge, the hopes of a Confederate victory and Confederate nation are dashed for good. But many more opportunities will be gained and lost before this war is over.
For James Longstreet, who has foreseen the disaster, the unsuccessful charge is a bitter pill to swallow.
Can you see how our boys are doing?
Lee has authored an epic disaster, and he alone must live with the consequences.
General Pickett, assemble your division in the rear of this ridge and prepare for the enemy advance.
General Lee, I have no division.
You and your men have covered yourselves in glory this day.
Not all the glory in the world can atone for the widows and the orphans this day has made.
It's my fault. It is my fault.
I am counting on you, General. One wrong move, and we are finished.
It is my fault. It is all my fault.
Robert E. Lee's defeat at Gettysburg rips the veneer off of his invincibility. He's a fallible man who can be beaten by officers and soldiers who take advantage of his mistakes and refuse to give up. Emboldened by an impressive string of victories with Stonewall Jackson by his side, Robert E. Lee believes he can turn the tide of the Civil War with one more victory at Gettysburg. But without Jackson to execute his plan, Lee's soldiers come staggering back from Pickett's charge, bloodied and battered.
General, this day has been hard on you.
It is a sad, sad day for us. I've never seen troops behave so magnificently as Pickett's division did today in that grand charge. Too bad. Oh, too bad.
My men are prepared to give equal effort in tomorrow's battle.
There will be no battle. We must return to Virginia. It was all my fault. Now we must do our best toward preserving that which is left to us.
We were damn close, sir.
After his humiliating defeat at Gettysburg, Lee is not only demoralized, but begins to doubt his ability as a military leader.
The general remedy for the want of success in a military commander is his removal. No matter what may be the ability of the officer, if he loses the confidence of his troops, disaster must sooner or later ensue.
When the smoke clears from Gettysburg, the North and South have suffered more than 50,000 casualties. The two armies, shell-shocked by the battle, take a break from fighting to regroup and mourn the dead. As Elizabeth Thorne tends to Gettysburg's dead, New York Times reporter Samuel Wilkeson takes his dead son home for burial.
O you dead, who at Gettysburg have baptized with your blood the second birth of freedom in America, how you are envied. I rise from a grave whose wet clay I have kissed, and I look up and see Christ. His right hand opens the gates of paradise, and with his left, he beckons these mutilated, bloody, swollen corpses to ascend.
Without Stonewall Jackson by his side, Robert E. Lee is a lesser leader, and to some extent, a lesser man. Though General Longstreet often takes the blame for the loss at Gettysburg, Lee knows where the fault truly lies, with himself and his obsession to destroy the Union Army. Gettysburg is a catastrophic blow to the South and its hope for an independent Confederacy. And if Lee cannot find a way to work with the generals he has left, it will prove fatal. The North has shown itself to be a strong and powerful adversary, and now the war enters a new phase, as both sides must find a way to reckon with this devastation wrought in a small town in Pennsylvania.